Welcome to Strength Side. Today we're going to go over one exercise that's going to help your hip mobility, stability, and overall just body mechanics, how you move, right? So one of our big goals here at Strength Side is to get people to start thinking of their movement and positions throughout their whole day, throughout life, right? Rather than just thinking of this little box here that we call exercise, that is formal exercise that we go to the gym to work on our body. We want to break down that barrier and start thinking of how our bodies can just be healthy and move throughout our whole entire life, right? And not having to go to a specific place to make our bodies better, right? We can work on it all day long. Okay, so this exercise that we're about to do, it's more of just a healthy position for you to adopt and to mess around with, right? I'm not going to give you sets and reps or anything. This is something that you can experiment with and see how your body reacts to it, okay? So if you're familiar with lifting at all, it's going to look a lot like a sumo deadlift, and that's basically what it is. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a wider stance here, okay? So my feet are outside of my shoulders, right? We're going to keep the toes, we're going to keep the feet fairly straight, right? I don't want them out here like a duck. They don't have to be perfectly straight. They can be toed out a little bit, but mostly straight, okay? So now from here, what we're going to do is just simply hinge forward, okay? So I'm going to go, boom, I hinge at my waist, right? My hands, for now, I can do whatever I want with my hands. I can put them here, I can drop them down, whatever. And then I'm going to push back up, okay? Let's do that again. I'm going to hinge forward. Boom. I'm going to push back up, okay? Now, this position is a very powerful position, and I'm going to tell you why right now. So, chances are, if you're a human being, then your hips are going to be happier in one of two positions, right? You're either going to be a little bit more externally rotated, and getting wide like this feels kind of natural for you, or you're going to be very tight, kind of in this hip, inner thigh region, and getting wide is going to be really hard to pry those things open, right? So the great thing about this position is we can work on whatever it is that you are lacking, okay? So let's take the tight example first, okay? So you're very tight here, you have tight hamstrings, tight inner thighs, and it's hard to, get these hips open, right? So for you, what we're going to do is we're really just going to force these knees out, and we're really going to work on creating some external rotation force in our hips here by forcing those knees out and opening up here, okay? So for you, while we do this hinge motion, boom, you're just forcing out, trying to keep those knees out over the toes to kind of facilitate more range of motion in your hips, right? So we're actively working on stretching while we're doing this very functional movement, okay? Now for the other person who feels a lot better in this position, right? You got really loosey-goosey hips and you're, feel good here, but the problem probably is that you're lacking stability in the hip, right? If you're able to just open up your hip as much as you want, you can stretch your leg out as much as you want, then you might be running into issues with not being able to stabilize through the pelvis core region, okay? So for you, what we're going to work on is we're going to work on planting that big toe into the ground as firmly as you can, and what that's going to do is that's going to kick on some of these inner thigh quad muscles to stabilize the hip more, okay? So we're not trying to just spread out as far as we can now. Now we're really pressing in through that big toe, and we're going to feel like we're getting good contraction here to move us up and down, okay? So once again, this is a very powerful position. If you look at this position, this is just a very athletic position, right? And there's a reason why athletes, martial artists are very strong, and they have, very good movement patterns, and most of them have great mobility, right? And they adapt positions like this. They adopt positions like this all the time, right? This is a basketball player's defensive stance, right? So let's give a side angle here. Now, the other thing I want to say is that we can mess around with the knee angle, right? So we can do something that looks a little bit more like this with a straighter leg, boom, or we can add some flexion into that knee and we can get a little bit more bent here, right? Once again, these are all just positions that you can mess around with, so I want you to try them out, see what feels good, see what doesn't feel good, see what you feel like you need to work on, okay? Positions are very important. If you go through life sitting in a chair, standing, walking, then you're not hitting all the ranges of motion that you're capable of hitting, and you're probably going to run into problems for it, okay? So, if you like this video, be sure to like it. If you want to see more content on getting stronger, adding stability and flexibility into your body, subscribe to Strength Side, and like always, we'll see you in the next one.